Hi, I'm Gary from organicweb.com.au and I'm a Mailchimp partner. Mailchimp is releasing at this very moment its new Customer Journeys. Customer Journeys replaces the old automation, although automations remain in existence at this time, those ones you've already created. But let's go across to Mailchimp itself. You'll notice I'm in Customer Journeys and I got here by clicking Automations and then Customer Journey. You can see I have a draft customer journey here and an active customer journey. We're going to create a new customer journey as part of this demo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, as soon as someone subscribes to my audience, send them an email. Then, if they're in the USA, send them this email. If they're elsewhere in the world, send them that email. So we can now do branching. So I'm going to click Create and Customer Journey. We need to call our customer journey something. This is just for your own purposes. I'll just call it Demo, and we need to choose our audience. I'll click Start Building. We need to choose something that starts this journey, whether it's a tag being added, whether it's someone purchasing a certain product. But in this case, we said as soon as someone subscribes to our audience, so I'll choose a starting point. And you'll notice Mailchimp gives you various options, but I'll just choose as soon as someone signs up for this demo. So I've clicked that. We can include imported contacts, and I'll click Save Starting Point. Looking at the screen, on the right-hand side is where we build the journey, and each of these pluses is either a rule or an action. Now, on the left-hand side is our rules and actions. A rule is something like branching or if else. Wait, in other words, wait until something happens. They purchase something. They are tagged something. A delay is merely a delay. Pause the journey. Our actions at this time are we can send an email or we can add or remove a tag. So let's demo. So as soon as people sign up, I want to then send an email. So I'll quite simply click the action of send email. Click where I want that email sent. So I want it sent immediately after they sign up. So I have my Gets email box here. I now need to create the email that's going to be sent. So I'll click on my Gets email, change the to and from, change the subject line, and I'll just use a previously sent campaign in this case. So I've clicked that. I will, in this demo, just choose, I'll just click on one of my past sent demo campaigns. We'll wait for this to load up. Then what you would do is you would change this. Welcome to my audience, welcome to my company, whatever you want to say. You would amend it, you would test, and then we will click Save and return to workflow. So now we've created this first email that we want sent as soon as people sign up. Then I said, people are going to sign up, get that first email, but I then want to create a branch and say, if people are in the USA, send them this email. If they're elsewhere in the world, send them that email. That's an if-else statement. So I can click if-else and put the if-else or the branching where I want it, and I want it here after they get this first email. Now I need to configure the condition and say if they're in the USA, so let me click the yes path, and I said I want it done on location in this case, so I'm going to click location. So if the location is, and let me change the is within to be is in country, so if the location, if the person's in country, in this case USA, but I could choose Singapore, Australia, whatever. So if they're in the USA, you could add more conditions, but I'll click Save. So they send that email. If they're in the USA, if they're elsewhere in the world. So if they're in the USA, let me add an email to send, or I could tag them or whatever, but I'll choose an email. So I'll click Send Email and choose the place I want to create this email or add the email. So I'll click it here. I would then configure that email. You're in the USA, whatever. So if they're in the USA, they'll get that email. I also need to send potentially set another email to go out. So if they're not in the USA, maybe I want to add an email there. So I'll click Send Email and click that. And we could add an email there. So people sign up, they immediately are sent that email. If they're in the USA, they're immediately sent that email. If they're not in the USA, they're immediately sent that email. That's not ideal because I don't necessarily want these emails sent immediately. I don't necessarily want to send, overburden people with getting too many emails. So let me add a delay. So what I could say is I want to add a delay of, let's say, 2 days before these emails are sent. I could click delay, add the delay where I want it, and I could click the is delayed from moving forwards and change this to what I want. So let's say 2 days, for example. And maybe this is all I want to do, and you could carry on, but they sign up for my audience, they immediately get that email. Pause for 2 days, then go down, and if they're in the USA, send them that email. If they're not, send that email. Of course, you could carry on with this, but I hope you enjoyed this demo. Before I carry on, we would of course turn this on, and that would mean start sending. So as people subscribe, they join this. I'll just quickly show you as well how to delete a customer journey if you want to. So I'll just click the cross to the top of the corner, and let's say I want to delete this demo I've just created. I merely go across to the 3 dots and I can then delete this journey. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for joining me. I'm Gary from organicweb.com.au.